Thank you. The cover page. And just place it on slide share. Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and a warm welcome to our HELIG Reading Club session this afternoon. By now, you should all know me. I am the chair of HELIG, Dr. Kleinveld, and I'm also an academic at CPUT. We are going to be discussing quite an interesting article this afternoon, and quite fitting in what we do every day as to what impact the information literacy programs and support services have on our users. But I would just like to, before I hand over to our colleague Ingrid, who will introduce us and just brief us a little bit on the article, I would just like to inform members that we will post a link to a short evaluation form that we would like members to please complete, because this will assist us with developing and arranging future events based on your experience, and also based on your suggestions for topics that you would like us to present on or have discussions around, whether these are pressing issues or just wanting to share best practices with one another. You are welcome to do so via the evaluation form, which will be shared in the chat during the session. So without any further ado, I would like to hand over and introduce my colleague, Ingrid Thompson. She is the PRO for the HELIG committee and also a librarian at UCT, who will now just introduce us and brief us a little bit on the interesting journal article that we will be discussing. And thereafter, we will open the floor with some leading questions, just to get the discussion flowing. So I will now hand over to Ingrid to introduce us to the article. Thank you. Over to you, Ingrid.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. You'll see that I'm here alone. My co-facilitator, Sibongeli Mitsweni, couldn't make this afternoon. So you've actually got the whole HELIG committee team stepping in. Sibongeli chose this article, very recent article, December 2021. And it is, and of course, just in time, right at the end of February, it is a love and breakup letter about writing love letters and breakup letters to a library research skills tutorial. So I guess we tick the box for Valentine's month. Okay, so the title of the article is Babe, You're a Bit of a Know-It-All. Student Love and Breakup, which reflects on, is a study based at Concordia University Library in Canada, where they employed what they considered to be a novel user experience method, the love letter and breakup letter, to evaluate how useful an online information literacy tutorial was for students writing assignments with research requirements. So the article looks at how the students responded to that. You know, of course, that we all are probably in some form of another using self-directed learning tools. I mean, we're constantly doing online videos or going online and post, you know, sort of these virtual consultations. So this article was very kind of appropriate. So the library research skills tutorial that they have is comprised of thematic guides, videos, learning activities. It's 7 modules, and it was envisaged as a self-directed learning tool, which would help the students do their research and find their information sources for their research assignments, especially when the librarian or the workshops were just not feasible. So they did a pre-test and of course used students that were in the library, recruited participants, and they then found that the intended applications, that test revealed very little about the intended applications of the tool. So what the study then went on to do was to see whether this tutorial would be useful when recommended to students with actual real life research assignments in specific courses. And in addition, then using the love breakup letter method was seen whether that was an alternative, a good alternative to those more common surveys, you know, the focus groups, the usability studies. I mean, we probably could do a love breakup letter instead of having an evaluation at the end. We could possibly do that, but does that work? So in the literature review, they did I mean, and there's a lot of literature about tutorial best practices and evaluation methods, but very little about using this particular methodology. So the question that they asked themselves was, would undergraduate students consider the tutorial, the library research skills tutorial, useful if recommended to them as a self-directed learning tool when completing a research assignment? And the second question was, would that love breakup letter method work as part of a qualitative study in a library setting? So I mean, I think in the discussion we can raise some of the findings that were made, and comment on some of the findings and the discussions that were made. So I'm going to kind of hand over to Teresa, I think, who's going to kind of raise the first question. And if you can put up your hands, or I think Lynn is going to monitor, and I'll be listening intently.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ingrid. So as we were engaging with the article, there were some questions that we had to put in mind. And the first one would be, what do you think of the overall style of the article? Was it easy to read? Too intense? Too dense? So if we can have some takers on that.
If I can go first, I thought it was quite a nice, clear writing style. It was quite easy to follow, and of course, what caught my attention was the method. But I know we'll get to the method later on. But I thought it was a clear, quite a clear. Clearly written piece of work. Thanks. And I see D.L. Pope, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but he also mentioning it was easy to read, but a lot of references that is probably necessary in the academic world. Yes, that is one thing I think that on the eye could be a little bit of overwhelming, seeing all the references and all the synthesis, but from an academic point of view, for me, it was quite good to see. I was quite happy to see the synthesis of sources um, that was included quite nicely in the text, because it immediately alerted me to the amount of publications that's out there on this topic, which is really good if you are wanting to read a little bit deeper into these topics. But I agree with you. If one looks at it, it can be a bit overwhelming to the eye, seeing all the in text and the synthesis of sources in between the writing. But it is necessary. Yes.
So the one thing, Lynn, that people that they did comment was that they hadn't found much application of the love letter breakup in the library literature. They did find it elsewhere. So I guess this is probably one of the first sort of academic articles around that topic.
Absolutely, on the method, yes, I agree with you. That is what stood out for me. The nice thing about it is that it came up quite early in the article that it is not that popular in the library field. It came out somewhere else, but I think what D.L. Pope was referring to was overall the synthesis of sources, referring to the literature out there on the support services, modules, tutorials, etc. There's quite a bit on that, but not specifically on using the love letter, breakup letter sort of method, which it's quite appealing at this point, because I thought, wow, this is quite interesting and open for conducting some research using this form of method. But I agree with you, Ingrid, very nicely stated early in the article that it is fairly new in the field in terms of a method used.
Yeah, if I can chip in here, thank you, Chair. I think we employed the same method, even though it wasn't for research per se. I think it was during this month, the February month, and we were following one of the LIASA's themes, of the love letters in the library. So it was interesting to get that feedback from students, in that relaxed manner, instead of, expecting them to fill in the survey. We gave them an opportunity to write their love letters. Anyway, we didn't include the breakup, part of it. It was more about the love letters. But since it was that free flowing writing, some of them still gave us, that peace of mind, where they weren't happy and all that. So I think it's a lovely instrument or way of getting that engagement from our users, from the students, especially, the youth, the young generation, they really find it appealing, and they can write whatever that they want and give us the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa, for sharing that experience with us. And now I even have a follow-up question for you. Are you planning to, or did the library decide to apply for ethics beforehand, so that these responses could be used in a publication, or it was just for the purposes of the theme of the month and seeking feedback from users?
Oh, yes, yes. In our case, since it wasn't a study per se, it was just, to promote. It was one of the library's marketing activities, or to get feedback from our people. So we didn't really get ethical clearance. But definitely, if we were going to go ahead and do a study, we're going to do that.
Sure,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you.
I'm just thinking that, in the way moving forward, and that would be ideal then to also share it in a publication. The thoughts and experiences and perceptions of our users using this form of method. I mean, with my 4th years, I started out with information literacy refreshers and lots of practical activities, and the reaction, are both positive and negative. And so when I read this article, I thought, wow, this would be a nice way of using this method to get the students to reflect on the whole experience, starting out with research and having to perform various tasks, etc., that they reflect in a form of a love letter or breakup letter. I'm even thinking of using that as a student feedback format in teaching and learning than the traditional way of doing it through a survey, etc. But then, of course, one is also taking into consideration this would be as much as we want as much feedback as possible, but in terms of qualitative data could get a bit overwhelming when one has large classes, but it would be something definitely to consider as just a sample, and to get that feedback. Yes, Ingrid, I'm seeing your comment in the chat on page 43 that at the time of writing, no library-based research study employing this methodology had been published in an academic journal, nor had any love or breakup letters been analyzed using a basic qualitative research approach. And that is exactly what stood out for me about this article, that it's like a light bulb went on. We need to be publishing on this. Let's try this method. Let's work together, and take it forward. Andrew has also made a comment, and I'm just reading it out. Although the methodology is interesting, they said it was designed for research on products. So it's interesting to see that it can be used in other contexts. for sure. It seems like a good way to measure user experience, which is not so easy to do. I wonder if it would work in a business setting to gauge employee experience with platforms. Absolutely, Andrew. It would be interesting to see how it plays out in different contexts and disciplines.
There was a cautionary note from Andy Priestner further on in the article about using, and I actually want to probably look for his column or whatever it was, where there was a caution about using love letters. Now I need to find it. I think it was on the.
I think it's on page 51 where they talk about the limitations.
Under limitations,
yes.
yeah. But that's under limitations, and then so maybe
I think I got
not.
it here. Sorry, is it line where he or she pointed out similarly? Priestner warned researchers of the potential use of less informative euphemisms by creative writers. Is that the one?
Yes, but I was, sort of, I mean, Andy Priestner is the big UX guy. If he ever listens to this, he's the big UX guy. I mean, for those of us who've been around, he was at the Liasa conference a couple of years ago, and so he had sort of user experience is really useful, but we need to be quite careful and clever about it. I just want to comment on Andrew's takeaway. That was my big takeaway as well. Students aren't looking to learn how to do research at the point of need. When you're trying to do something, you don't want to have to be taught to have a lesson. You actually just want to get in there, I mean that later on when we talk about the findings, and that can actually come in. I see Lisa Marie's got her hand up.
Yes, I was just going to hand over to Lisa Marie. Please go ahead. Lisa Marie, you may speak. Okay, while we wait for Lisa Marie, I just wanted to, you may type your comment or question in the chat, Lisa Marie. But this is exactly what I'm getting now in my class, where there's kind of this two-minded response to the refreshers. I'm really pushing, the application of information literacy elements in the activities in the classroom, etc. And it's like, do I have to do this? It's a constant needing to emphasize the purpose, the importance of needing to apply these skills for what is to come. But that is exactly the point here, that students at the point of need, but where the problem comes in, if at the point of need now they don't have time to attend a module. So it's constantly this, when is the right time then to do it? I've changed the approach to start out at the beginning of the year, because when we get into the nitty-gritty, they need to then be able to be competent enough to apply the skills. So it remains a challenge as to, yes, when is the best time to run a tutorial, etc. Teresa, your hand's raised.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, you have a point there. So from our experience at Vega, what we do is that at the beginning of the year, we normally run the intro, what do you call them? The orientation sessions. They're very brief, less than 30 minutes, quick, go. This is what you need to go when you need ABC. It's more of a passive approach because they're just sitting there. You quickly show them, but at least they'll leave knowing that if I need this, I know that quickly I can, approach the information specialist and ask, how do I get my articles? How do I access my databases? Then just in time, just before the submissions, then we go in again. We do the just-in-time sessions. So I think in a way that works, that helps a bit, even though they still moan and they don't see, value, what's in it for me. So yeah, we always try and vary, how we deliver this.
Yes,
But
thanks.
somehow some get the message, some find them useful, some will still moan and will still, not get it right, even though they moan and say they don't see the need. So yeah,
Sure.
it's a
Uh,
catch
uh,
22.
yes, yes. This for me, it's like why the moaning? I mean, this is so important. Why is it so difficult to realize that? But Annalisa, please go ahead and you may raise your question or comment.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, colleagues, this is a very interesting article. And as my colleague who just previously commented before me, this brings to my mind the fact that the issues raised from the article remind us that as librarians, maybe we tend to think on behalf of the users in terms of what they need. At the same time, we are in a very difficult position because, we should know what they need. And I think we are one of the best people who can identify what kind of information they need at what point. But then again, like in the findings, some of them say they will come to the library when they need information and stuff, and the point of need discussion. But then I'm asking myself, and this happens too in practice, the students who know what questions to ask when they don't actually know what they need or what is available there. Just a quick example. You may find that at undergrad level, they even do manual referencing and stuff, and only at postgraduate level, they start to be curious about reference management tools and those kinds of things. And reference management tools are not really meant for any level of study. Anyone can use them. But then they found that throughout their undergrad, they were never aware because they were not even paying attention to all the things that are happening around them. But then when you present it to them, then it's regarded as maybe information overload by some people that no, it's undergrads, shouldn't be bombarding them about reference management tools and all the other things that we feel they need to know. So yeah, it's just thought provoking. You are one moment you are at this position, the other minute you feel, no, I must just step back a little. Yeah, but it's interesting.
Thank you, Annalisa. I totally agree with you. And, for me, I'm constantly wearing two hats. I cannot let go of my librarian hat in the classroom. So I'm always pushing. And but the one thing I just wanted to also add to the point you made about the referencing management tools is that it is important that they do understand the basic elements of referencing before using the tool, so that they are then able to verify that the details, the bibliographic details, have been imported correctly and all of that. And I think that's where some of the challenges come in, where some students are quite enthusiastic to use a tool to save time and make their lives easier. But those aspects in terms of ensuring that the bibliographic details are correct when they are importing from the various platforms can be challenging if they did not get that enough practice in manual referencing and getting into ensuring that they have all the bibliographic details correct and so on. But yes, definitely it remains a challenge. We keep on trying to ensure that the users are aware of the options, all the possibilities. My students, for example, asked me, and I wanted to go crazy, why do we need to search the databases? Can't we just use Google? I said, you are now at the 4th year level and you are attending a research methodology course, and you need to conduct research, and you need to make use of the resources that are available that will provide you with the reliable sources of information. I said there's times that you will use Google to do a search, but bear in mind you must be able to evaluate the information before you're going to use it. So so I get a lot of that as well. So let me see. Thank you for sharing. There's quite a bit now in the chat. Lisa Marie, you mentioned that you feel the informality of the method could potentially have many underlying factors. With the behavioral and linguistic or language use difference, absolutely, that could influence the conclusions drawn. I found the description of the coding a bit confusing. Yes, they stuck to a theme, but the categories don't feel quite right. For example, generational differences in the way the letters are written. Sure, that is a challenge I think that we all face with the writing styles that one see with students and the assignments and things, and just constantly making students aware that, you know, the way you speak, that is not the way you are going to be writing your assignments. And this what do they call this, short text writing that one picks up in between assignments and things. So definitely a good point made there, Lisa Marie. Marupeni, please go ahead. I see your hand is raised.
Thank you, Chair.
Please go ahead.
I was also confused when I looked at the title of this paper. And then when I started to read it now, I found it very interesting now inside the content. And then when I checked this paper, it was published, I think, March or April 2019. This was before COVID lockdown. I think maybe if I get these dates, the dates right. So it would be interesting for me that if the same study is done now, a year or two after COVID, what will be the results of this study? And the other thing that I see, this looks like a Canadian study, or this university, I think it's in Canada. if I'm not, if I'm right here, Concordia University. And lastly, my comment, I checked on Google Scholar this article, and I know it's one of the many databases that we can use if you want to check the number of views or on the article. And then on this one, I found 0 on Google Scholar. That's the only one that I checked. There where we are able to check the number of people who cited or used this paper. So I don't know if maybe the users were also confused by the topic and did not use that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks.
Maripeni, I think it's been newly published. That was December 2021. That was last year, end of the year, in the Journal of Information Literacy. It probably hasn't had, as we tell our academics who kind of like start worrying about whether their papers have had no citations. It takes time to work through. So we if one of us cited, yes, there'll be some citations, but if you go onto the Journal of Information Literacy, you can check on the number of views that the article has had. For the moment, the views are probably a proxy for the citations. I'm just watching the time
Yes.
because we need to finish at 1:45. I just wanted to kind of like touch on this in the discussions that the answer that they came up in relation to the first question was that the undergraduate students did not consider this tutorial to be useful when recommended as an independent learning tool for help with writing research assignments. And that, as the discussion, as the authors say, is actually very significant, because we spend a lot of time on the development of high quality tutorials with them, with the intention that people are going to be using them for self-directed learning. But if there's as Anna Marie is saying, Lisa Marie is saying, the return on investment, we need to probably think about this carefully. And they had got incorporated into the classes. I mean, they had actually, I mean, I thought that was a really good idea. Like, boom, you're in the class, it's part and parcel of the course, and that obviously didn't kind of work. So this was seen as they comment that it constitutes a learning rather than a doing tool. And I think our students are probably wanting doing tools as opposed to I now need to learn this before I can even do that, before I can even do the the exercise. But on the other hand, the study did show that the love breakup letters can in fact work. So we need to probably play around with this. We've got a pretty heavy emphasis on there's been an emphasis on self-directed learning, that the students want to help themselves. And yes, we'll go and have a quick look at TikTok or a quick YouTube video or something like that, but something, that something quick and easy. So I mean, that part of that first finding kind of, confirmed my own biases. But I think that the use of the love and breakup letters is something different, and is something that one could actually use. But I would love to hear comments from others, and perhaps from people who've not spoken up already.
Sure. The floor is still open, and while we wait for colleagues to participate, I have just posted the link to the evaluation form in the chat, as mentioned at the beginning of the session, that we will appreciate your feedback, and it will contribute to us developing and arranging future events. So yes, Ingrid, definitely. Oh, it's just thought provoking, but I'm excited about this method. I want to maybe open it up and hear who would like to collaborate and let us conduct some research and publish it and put it out there using this method.
Interesting indeed. Thank you, Doc. And I'm just looking at the list of our questions, but I think some have been covered, even though I didn't go one by one. But maybe we can look at, there's an interesting one to say, do you think, is the one that is asking if you think there's room for future research?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I am quite excited about trying out this method, but I'd like to collaborate.
Got it there. Got it there. Yeah, and I think Ingrid also talked about some biasness. Would it be here? If the author is writing on a debatable issue, do they present all sides of the debate, or do they seem to have a bias? Or was it coming from your side, Ingrid?
It was coming from the biasness was coming from my side. I actually didn't pick up any bias in the article at all. The bias is just me, their first findings sort of confirming those subversive thoughts that have been in my head for a long time about self-directed learning, which I don't, sort of don't often share. I kind of will kind of roll my eyes and kind of go like, okay, if that's what is wanted by library management, then yeah, give library management, sorry, library managers sitting here, give library management what they want, but in my heart of hearts going like, I don't know that this I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. Not for long, not long. I think the tutorial, it's useful. There's a place for it, but one needs to take all the various permutations and that into consideration. But that was just that's just my bias.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Ingrid, that the two need to complement each other. You can't just leave the students at the mercy of the self-directed learning, because we know that sometimes, even if it's not, even if it's there, they won't even bother, to make contact with it. That's why you even have this tracking tools to see who has viewed this, how many times, and you go back to the performance to see whether there's a link, a correlation between that engagement, that engaged student, as well as the outcome, the performance for that student. But more often than not, you realize that those who don't make an effort are always at the bottom of the scale. So those students who are really committed and are open to all this that is available for them are the ones who are performing at their best. My 5 cents take.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see it every year, as students progress through the year, one can really see the difference where students are you're really taking it seriously, you can see the improvement, there's growth, there's development, compared to, if they just not taking it seriously, they are not applying it. I become stricter by the year with regards to information literacy and assessing it in all assessments across subjects. So I definitely can see the difference, and I believe that we are we're doing a great job actually in supporting students with the teaching and learning and research, with the all the modules and the resources that we not just make available, but the effort that goes into preparing and conducting training with the students. It really is making a difference in the lives of students. But as we know, you can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make the horse drink it. So at the end of the day, it is up to the individual as to what is the purpose of continuing your education and wanting to develop and learn and try and apply your mind to things. It boils down to the individual at the end of the day. So I'm not sure, Marupeni, I see a little icon if you want to speak or.
Okay, we are rapidly running out of time. It's
Okay.
now 10:02, so we probably need to call it a day, call it a halt,
yes.
and
yes.
until the next time.
Until the next time. Colleagues, thank you so much for your active participation this afternoon in discussing this very interesting article. I am looking forward to some collaborative projects coming out of this, and we definitely look forward to the next reading club and unpacking of research articles that are really speaking to what we do every day. So thank you so much for your participation. I have posted the link to the evaluation form in the chat. I will do so again if you've missed it earlier on, and we appreciate your feedback. Thank you, Ingrid and team, for facilitating the session this afternoon. Thank you to Lebogang, who supported us behind the scenes with the technical support and arrangement for this session. We appreciate it, and we look forward to the future events that HELIG will be hosting. So, Teresa, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I cannot see the link. Oh, I see somebody else has said that. Are you posting it to everyone, or? I don't see it from my side.
Oh, sorry.
I've been scrolling up and down.
Thank you for alerting me to that. I've been posting and
Oh,
only realized now it didn't go to everybody. My apologies.
Thank you.
And thank you, Teresa, for your participation as well in facilitating the session this afternoon. Keep well, everybody. Have a lovely afternoon and weekend. Keep safe until we meet again at our next event. Keep well and goodbye, everybody.